start briefly by playing this clip from President Donald Trump. So he was at a G7, G8? I lose count of the number of Gs that they
G7
put in this fluctuating group, G7.
Yeah.
So he left early from this meeting, kicked off a lot of rumors that something major was going to be developing overnight. While he was on Air Force One, he held a long kind of on-camera gaggle with reporters. I'll play a brief portion of this, and then I want to get your let me find this here. I think this is it. Yeah, here we go.
Iran should be able to have a nuclear weapon, but how close do you personally think that they were to getting one? Because Tulsi Gabbard testified in March that the intelligence Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon. I don't care what she said. I think they were.
So I don't care what she said. This is of Tulsi Gabbard. I think they were very close to having one. Farzan, any immediate reaction to those comments from President Trump?
The intelligence that the Israelis have purported to have discovered in the lead up to their strike, according to them, reveals that Iran, after the 7th of October, was working on kind of a fast-tracked but still highly compartmentalized weapons option that was nearing the stage of completion. Now, it's surprising if Israel had discovered this throughout this period, but the United States independently hadn't. And if Israel had discovered it separately, that they hadn't prior to that shared it with the United States. So it's an interesting mismatch, and it only seems that Trump is kind of aligning with the Israelis, at least on this particular narrative, much later in the game.
Yeah, Maz, what do you make of him just completely dismissing his own intelligence assessment? Because we're now on the kind of flip side of the Iraq war scenario, where the intelligence community leading into the Iraq war was saying we have an enormous number of doubts about whether or not there are weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Well, it's not the flip side. It's kind of the exact same thing. The intelligence community is saying there are not weapons of mass destruction in Iran, and you have the president saying, "No, we don't." In this case, he's saying it much more bluntly. So I don't care what she says. They are very close to a weapon. What did you read into that?
It's kind of an astonishing statement in the sense that it's very, to say that when my director of national intelligence says, I don't care, Trump, that's his style, but still, nonetheless. Well, I think that, if you look at the last few days, Netanyahu has said a lot of things about the Iranian nuclear program. He said that the Iranians were planning to transfer a nuclear weapon to the Houthis in Yemen.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't offered any evidence of that. A very hyperbolic and extreme claims about the program, and suggestions that they may have been a mortal threat not just to Israel from the imminent Iranian nuclear program, but even the United States, in Europe, and so forth. Very extreme 2003 type allegations and rhetoric, which are being employed to seemingly incentivize Trump to continue with the current path that they appear to be on. Now, I'm not to psychoanalyze Trump, but I get the impression that I, like many people who have the misfortune of having to try to parse his statements in a criminology type way, it's very, very frustrating because there's not really a logical through line through all of them. But the impression I get is that he's a bit of a cipher, and then he's vulnerable to being pushed in one direction or the other. Flattery or just proximity, other incentives may push him one way or another. And his tune on the subject is radically different from what it was even 2 weeks ago, when he was suggesting that a deal was imminent, that he really wanted one, and so forth. Now he's saying he doesn't even want to talk to Iran. This is most recent comments about the subject, and stating they were imminently about to have a nuclear weapon. I have the impression, based on himself and also Steve Witkoff's statements about the subject, that they were not deeply read in on the details and mechanics of the dispute over the Iranian nuclear program, past deals, what had been discussed before, what the Iranians said there was their red lines before. And there's a sense of improvisation seemingly happening with the policy. When you have that situation where some people don't know as much, maybe, or they are operating in a situation where they not have as much investment in a subject for many, many years, they're very susceptible to being pushed in one direction by those who do. And I think Netanyahu has made this subject the focus of his entire career, arguably for many, many decades now. And he's very motivated. He has allies in the U.S. Senate and elsewhere, Congress, who can help him push in that direction. And he's getting what he wants now at a critical moment after a pretty intense effort at resisting this among segments of the MAGA base who are against this, but they don't have the cards, to use Trump's term with Zelensky some months ago.
And Farzan, meanwhile, there is some discussion about getting back to the table, going back to the negotiations. Let me put up this post by Mohammed Ali Shabani. He writes, informed sources confirm that Trump is seeking a Witkoff-Vance meeting with Araghchi, this Amwaj Media, leveraging Israel's war with Iran and request for U.S. bombing. Trump may seek final diplomatic resolution. This has tankers set on fire off of the UAE coast. And he goes on to say, Araghchi on June 16th said Iran would continue retaliating as long as Israel hits Iran. Araghchi stated that it would take, quote, one phone call from Trump, quote, to muzzle someone like Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu, adding that may pave the way for a return to diplomacy. So at least there's some discussion of returning to diplomacy. How seriously do you take comments like this?
I don't take them particularly seriously. Part of it is because I think from an Iranian perspective, I mean, there's been some reporting that they're actually reaching out and looking for a return to talks. I'm not sure how they see Trump as being kind of a credible or good faith actor, and that even if they do make a deal, that'll make the pain stop and that'll prevent further Israeli attacks. That's one element of it. I also don't think that the Islamic Republic is at a stage, and it'll be very difficult to even get to this point where it will fully capitulate to the United States and Israel. And I don't see why those two sides, not that they feel they have the advantage, won't just press it and keep moving forward rather than attempt to return to talks. So, looking at it from both the perspective of the Iranians, who have an incentive to try to reach a ceasefire or end the immediate hostilities, but can't trust Trump and don't want to negotiate from a position of extreme weakness, as well as the kind of U.S. and Israel, which now feel they're in a position of kind of supremacy and strength. And I don't see why they won't kind of feel the need to press their advantage. So looking at both sides of the equation, I think we'll see a lot of flirting with potential diplomacy for the coming kind of period. But at the same time, I don't see serious negotiations resuming anytime soon.